Danny, Danny with the large white fanny.
What are you doing here, Julian?
There's one more job.
You owe me.
Daddy, please. It'll be a good time.
Oh, so now killing somebody is a good time.
Can be.
This fall comes a comedy about friendship at point blank range.
Whoa.
Pierce Brosnan, Greg Kinnear,
I could really use your help.
I can't hear you.
You're being sharp.
Ooga shaka, ooga shaka.
the Matador,
Goodbye, skadoodle.
See ya. Wouldn't want to be ya.
Smell ya. Shouldn't have to tell ya.
Hello and welcome back to Almost Cult Classics, the podcast. My name is Joe Ramoni, and with me, my friend and co-host Ryan Lancello.
Howdy, folks.
Today, we are discussing a movie from 2005 called The Matador. And correct me if I'm wrong, but this has been on our radar because of me, because I have suggested it in the past. Is that correct?
It sounds right to me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you suggested it because I guess it had been on our radar, and we wanted to do this spy assassin double feature.
Yeah, I kind of just, like you said, I think it's a lot of the times like you'll mention something that just kind of germinates in the back of my head, and for whatever reason this popped up.
I had pushed for this earlier. I forget. I had suggested to you once, and you were like, no. You always say the reason that you're hesitant to pick certain movies is when there's no conversation happening around them.
It worries me.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, a middling movie you can only say so much about. It's like, we got to fill some time here. Like,
Yeah.
podcast can be like, yeah, it was pretty good. Or I didn't really like it. Like, not much of a show there to discuss.
So my history with this movie is, and then I'll get to your thoughts, but I believe this is something that I discovered in the DVD era of Netflix. It was something I got from there. And enough where, this is before I really collected physical media, I bought it on DVD, and I still have it. So that to me was like, wow, that movie must have meant something for me that I, just as from a non-collector standpoint, was like, I want to own this.
What did you think that? It's got a good poster. You think that grabbed you?
Well, the poster on the DVD is totally different. It's not that one.
No, not this minimalist
In the
green
thumbnail,
thing.
it'll be the DVD, but then I just never revisited it. Mm-hmm. So like in my mind, I had like this kind of like, I liked it when I was that age, but I was like, fuck, like that. Because that's happened before where I've championed a movie for us to do. Like, yeah, I liked it years ago. And then I'm like, but
Well, it's funny. We'll touch on something like that pretty much around the same time frame.
Yeah.
It was mid-2000s, I feel like. There was a lot of those movies, and I think it was just my age where I was like, wow, that was great.
Yeah.
And I revisit them now, and I'm like,
I want to say that's the top. This one held up. In my memory of it from when I was younger, I really, really enjoyed it.
I'd never seen it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, too.
Yeah.
I'm going to say it was super novel spin on the Hitman genre, but it did things where I was like, I was happy to see where it went.
It does this thing, this movie, in my opinion, where anytime you think it's going to go like a rote, generic route you've seen in one of these movies, it pivots. And it's so much more interesting because of that.
Agreed. And not only that, the stuff it does do that's kind of generic or rote, it somehow does it in a way that's not off-putting.
Right.
I'm like, it makes sense almost. And
Yeah.
it's generally it's the performances too, which get that over. Like,
There's a moment in the movie where we'll get to it when we discuss the plot, but essentially Pierce Brosnan plays Julian, this eccentric hitman that meets Greg Kinnear's character on a business trip, and they kind of become friends. Then much later, he shows up at, what's Greg Kinnear's character's name?
Danny, I believe.
He shows up at his house, and he's married, of course.
Danny with the big white fanny. Or
But you would expect, in my movie brain from all the movies I've seen, you would expect the wife was like, who is this? He'd be like, oh, honey, this is my friend from college. But not only does she know who he is, she knows he's an assassin,
Right.
and is kind of intrigued by it, and not like, get out of our house, how dare you? And it just makes
it becomes a very interesting
so much more interesting
scene
and dynamic, and the way
agreed.
the plot progresses. The fact that even when he first reveals to Greg Kinnear, to Danny, that he's an assassin, he's interested, he's intrigued by this. Whereas you've seen other movies where that typical thing happens. And it's like the guy's like, I have to leave. Like, I can't be around you. What?
Yeah,
like,
it's that stammering.
Yeah. But like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, if I was in his situation, I met a guy and I'm bored in Mexico City, and I meet a hitman. Of course, I'm gonna like, really tell me more about that. Like,
I think it would be, my reaction probably would be similar. First would be, shut up.
yeah,
No.
Yeah.
And then be like, you said, like, really? But I enjoyed it.
good. I'm
It's
glad. I was a
movie.
little worried that you were gonna be like,
No.
sucked. But
No, not at all.
it's very interesting.
It doesn't overstay its welcome.
It's a very weirdly there is like a definitive 3-act structure to it, but they're very atypical to what you would expect a movie to be. It's like these three big chunks the movie essentially has.
Yes.
And they're not following I thought they don't follow that standard story structure moments. They're the inciting incidents, not quite. It's
janky.
It is.
But in a good way.
Yeah.
It's really weird. It's a movie I'd like to watch again because, like, I've said this before so many times, especially with movies where you're kind of expecting a twist ending or there's some, like, big denouement coming at the end.
Right.
You're waiting for it. You have that expectation. Once you know that that's out of the way, especially a movie like this, you can kind of just chill with these two and, watch them grow as buddies, and it's a chill movie in a way, and those are, I don't know, they're always enjoyable.
And, it's watching it was when it gets to kind of the holiday portion. In the middle there's this holiday portion, and I was like, oh, I know why I liked this back then and why I liked it now. It's like action, planes, trains, and automobiles.
A little bit.
It's very similar. You've got this guy who just wants a family and wants to be he wants friends at this point in his life that has a mustache, and then you have the businessman who wants to get home to it carries those things. Like you said, it's not a super unpredictable movie. Of course, you're going to do, but there's enough different and new that it does that it becomes surprising as the story progresses.
Yeah, I won't say there's a twist at the end, but it did surprise me. I liked what it did. And even as it unfolded, I was just like, oh, yeah, of course. I was like, good. I was like, nice.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll cover that.
But leading into it, because the director, Richard Shepard, he hasn't done a ton of stuff. It looks like there's a lot of interesting movies to talk about with him.
What's his deal? I feel like you looked at him a little bit more than I did.
I did. He just seems like one of those guys that
kind of
came from New York, but he's
low budget, but maybe not indie, but kind of indie.
Yeah, kind of like he's done a few movies. There's one in '91 called The Linguini Incident, which with David Bowie, which sounds really weird and interesting. He did Dom Hemingway, which came out about 10 years ago or so. People seem to like. And
oh right, I remember when
I didn't see that. He's got a video essay documentary from 2023, which I want to try to find. It's called Film Geek. He just seems like a guy that loves movies, and I think this one's dedicated to his father, who introduced the movies. That's always a cool thing to see. But yeah, I think he even said, I was reading a little bit, that he wrote this movie not expecting it would get made, or not expecting it would be like.
Well, one thing I think I saw, he was
Pierce Brosnan
making it for direct-to-video.
Yeah.
And obviously, that did not happen.
It would have been one of those. You never see that? I think it's called Grilled with Ray Romano and Kevin James.
I have seen that.
It would have been like if
that was pretty good.
Well, that might be one.
But was that direct to?
That was direct to video, I believe.
That was an all right movie.
Well, I've never seen it. I just remember seeing the poster. But
that was a Comedy Central. I'm like, whatever, it's on. And then I'm like, by 2/3 of the movie, I'm like, all right.
That was my kind of relationship with this movie the first time I saw it. It was like,
it has that vibe,
yeah,
a little bit, because it's not. You can tell it's not super high budget, but I'll give them credit for. Well, let me see here. What's the budget? 12.5. It looks great.
It does look. It's a very well shot movie.
I was really
tanks,
impressed.
by the way. This movie opens like 28. There was zero theatrical market for this movie. It kind of got a little bit of a boost when it got the DVD. It was of that era when DVDs were a really big way to discover movies, and I think it got discovered then. But it's still not talked about a lot, and
you don't hear about it a lot.
No, it's got great. Just it is funny.
Good almost cult classic.
I would say that.
I feel like we get shit sometimes. We're like, this isn't an almost cult classic, and it's like, I know, we know,
whatever. But
can we talk about what we want to talk about?
It's a movie that wouldn't exist without the Weinstein Company. I mean, it opens
funny.
with that logo.
And the Miramax logo.
And the Miramax.
Which I found odd. But yeah, there really is. You're seeing a lot now because people bitch about how bad movies are. And I see it like a lot of tongue-in-cheek, like, save us, Harvey. Like, come back. And I don't know how much of that was that. Because, remember, these guys really buried a lot of movies,
they did.
Too.
We talked about this before. Like, as much good films as they really did sabotage for just, vindictive, stupid reasons.
It's a dirty business. Yeah. I don't know. But, I was just like, oh, look at that. Like, it's a weird relic to see anymore.
Yeah. But you, as you usually do, you like to dive into some movies that surround the movies we talk about. And in this case, you wanted to do Pierce Brosnan in particular.
Yeah, I wanted to just check out some stuff he hadn't done. I just know him from Bond so much and those kind of roles. So I just looked into, what did I got here? 5 movies I hadn't really seen. So I decided to, check them out, fill in some gaps there.
I saw 1 or 2 of them, but go ahead. Let's go in order.
Back on our, excuse me, on our very first episode, obviously Bob Hoskins played Mario, and I had watched Mona Lisa.
This is something you did from the start. You were like, I'm going to watch those Bob Hoskins crime dramas.
Yeah, and someone, rightfully so, was like, dude, how the fuck do you not watch Long Good Friday? And I was just like, for whatever reason, I didn't. Well, I went back, and this was like Pierce's first movie, I believe. And it's great, too. This is how you know you got a good, or maybe a star. This one, he looks beautiful in the movie. He's a very pretty man, and he's young.
Yeah.
He looks great.
And he has like one line, too.
Which he improvised.
Yeah.
And it's high.
Yeah.
And he's barely in the movie. I mean, he's in it, but he plays
just a presence.
He's pivotal.
Yeah.
He plays a pivotal role, and the movie ends with him and him like menacingly
Just his
smirking
face.
almost.
Yeah.
Fucking fantastic.
Did you? I know you've like researched movies and stuff. So that ending's pretty iconic. Were you aware of the ending?
I actually wasn't. I didn't know too much about it beyond
Okay.
Bob Hoskins, kind of British mob boss.
How great is that ending?
It's fucking great. You're
It's an
fucked.
amazing shot.
You're so screwed.
Just holding on him.
Oh, it's excellent.
Just like
They
and
were-
it's almost like he wants to just like laugh at it.
Yeah.
The acting is so good
Yeah.
from Bob Hoskins in this movie.
It's
phenomenal.
From the accent to he's happy, he's gregarious, he's magnanimous. Now he's menacing and evil, like he's
Yeah.
pissed and he's murderous. And it's a fucking great
It
movie.
is a great movie.
I mean, let me see. When was this? There were so many good British crime movies from this era. What is this? Early 80s. Fucking awesome, man.
1980.
And then you've obviously got the Handmade Films connection.
Which I'm going to plug our own YouTube channel right now.
Yes, I would like to. If you're a fan of this show and you're here, why wouldn't you be? You are missing out on over 30 exclusive Patreon episodes on the show that Joe Ramone was kind enough to put in a little package.
Yeah. So on our Patreon now, a lot of you have asked, like,
What's that link?
That's patreon.com/almostcultclassics.
It's $5. It's a cup of coffee.
There's, I believe, 39 bonus episodes there. Patreon's launched like this collection feature now where you can find, so easily they're all packaged right there. Following this show, we're going to talk about another 2000s weird spy, Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, George Clooney's directorial debut. We're going to talk about that movie.
I'm going to talk some Charlie Kaufman.
But speaking of handmade films, on our YouTube channel, I recently cut together a couple of videos that are this show overlaid with videos from the movies we're talking about. Something we've wanted to do for a little bit. It's just a bit time consuming, but I did what I think is my favorite handmade film with Nell and I when we discussed that. So,
And it's so funny. I watched that thing you did, that little clip or whatever. I immediately wanted to put the movie on afterwards.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, I love this
yeah,
movie.
I had so much fun putting that together because I got to rewatch the movie.
Yeah.
So it was fun. It was a lot of great just movies that handmade films did. George Harrison was a big part of that, and yeah, this is one of their earliest, I believe.
I think so, yeah. But it's awesome. I mean, it's great. Like I said, he's the mob boss. He's trying to almost go legit with like a land development deal. He's trying to. I think it's Canary Wharfs, which apparently it did get developed.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, it was like kind of prophetic. But it's really good too because it almost reminds me of that movie I always bring up. I call Cormac McCarthy's The Counselor, but Ridley Scott directed it. But it's everything falls apart over basically a misunderstanding, and it's a misunderstanding with a group where in The Counselor it's the Mexican cartel. In this it's the IRA, where you can't reason with them. Like once they don't trust you, you're fucked.
He fucking tries.
He tries, and
Yeah.
then he says "fuck it" and blows them all away. I love how he thinks that's going to work too.
Right.
That's his
Just take
thing,
out a
too.
few of
Yeah,
them.
he's like, oh, take him out.
He's so pleased with himself too, and yeah, the accent. I mean, for me growing up, Bob Hoskins was Who Framed Roger Rabbit and Super Mario Brothers.
Same.
So when you see the actual like accent, performance, cadence, it's so. Like you said, it's gruff at times, it's gentlemanly at others.
Yeah.
But it's a captivating performance, and Helen Mirren is also great. And just like to watch this, my favorite element of this movie is when, again, shit hits the fan for him really quickly. His lieutenants start getting killed off.
And he doesn't know what's going on.
Right.
That's the other thing too. He's like, "What the fuck
It's a
is
panic.
going on here?" Like,
But-
and he can't figure it out. Normally, he just figures it out.
Right. And he's
Because
trying to
he's-
keep his composure because he has this American mob boss coming overseas to
By
see
Eddie,
his operation.
Eddie Constantine.
And there's a great scene where they're about to walk into one of me pubs. I forgot the name of it, but they're going to go in for dinner. And seconds before they walk in, the second floor blows up. And so him to just be like, "Oh, it's a gas leak." Like he's just trying to make everything look rosy and great. And
I love how the American mob is presented as like a corporation in this movie. Like they're just like a CEO and his
Yeah.
little underling. Like, it's awesome. I mean, everyone raves about this movie and rightfully so. It's fucking great, man. I couldn't recommend it enough.
yeah, it's a good movie. And
really
we got,
enjoyed it.
What's his name? Belloc.
Yeah, dude, that threw me off. I'm like, oh shit.
yeah.
What's his
Paul
name?
Freeman.
Yes.
Yeah,
It's like I know he's been in other movies, but he's so ingrained in my head as Bella from Raiders.
That when you see him in something else, you're
I'm like, huh? It took me a few minutes, like because he opens the movie. He's
you're
doing
right.
some money drop.
From the first time you see Pierce Brosnan, it's clear that this guy has something.
He just has the look.
Yeah.
He's beautiful. The young Pierce, my God.
Right.
But he has that I'm telling you, we talked about it last time in our movie catch up with who Yuri Borisov got the nomination for Anora. Yeah. He does so much with so little.
Him and what's his name, Jeremy Strong.
Yeah,
both got noms.
And Sebastian Stan too for The Apprentice.
Yeah,
I was surprised by that.
And Mikey Madison.
Yeah,
good,
deserved.
Yeah,
Wicked will sweep everything, and Amelia Perez probably. But Pierce does so much with so little in this movie, and you can really. You can see this guy could probably go places.
Yeah.
And obviously he did.
He does very quickly too.
Yeah. So definitely, I mean, Long Good Friday, fantastic
So
movie.
he's got one movie in between that and Nomads, which he's uncredited, so I assume it's not a very big part. But in 1986, he is in a movie called Nomads, a starring role. And I watched about 15 minutes of this, and I texted you because you had said me what you were going to watch, and I said, how many of these movies are must-watches? Because I was short on time.
What did I say?
You just said, none. What did you say? Not really.
None of them really.
So I while I was interested in it, I just was like, I don't have the time to.
I wanted to watch it because it's written and directed by John McTiernan, and I think it's his first movie. And based off of this, Schwarzenegger was like, oh, this guy can do Predator.
Yeah, and if you're unfamiliar with him, I mean, is
he out of jail?
I don't know.
I think he got out of jail.
But it's Predator, Die Hard, The Hunt for Red October, Last Action Hero, The Thomas Crown Affair, which I did watch. We can touch on a bit later. But yeah, I mean, just dude,
McTiernan's awesome.
Great director.
And he's got. Well, what's the other one? There's one after. Let me see real quick here.
Medicine Man, I left out.
No, it's not Medicine Man.
Die Hard with a Vengeance.
Oh, dude, the fucking 13th Warrior.
13th Warrior.
Have you ever seen that?
I haven't.
I'm gonna have to do that on the show.
I'd be happy to do
that.
I love Michael Crichton.
So awesome, dude.
Yeah, but great director, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe I wanted something. Tell me about this movie, because I just got kind of, like I said, 15 minutes in where.
So there's a good movie hiding in here somewhere, and he's a good director. He can build tension well and all that shit. It just kind of goes nowhere. Pierce Brosnan's like this French anthropologist. That's the other thing. You got to listen to him do a French accent the whole movie, and I'm like, I know you're not French. It's kind of annoying. But he decides to kind of settle down in L.A. and teach, because he's been like globetrotting with his wife, and they're going to settle down. Blah blah blah. Anywho, he's.
I see here, by the way, in the trivia, Gerard Depardieu was originally supposed to be the lead.
So it makes more sense with the French accent. But he basically.
Then he evidently pissed on the director, and he was fired.
You're making
that up.
Yeah. Very good. It wouldn't surprise me though.
I have to pee.
So he kind of studies like nomadic tribes around the world or whatever, and he comes to L.A., like I said, to teach. And like, there's this weird like 80s punk like group of people that are kind of terrorizing his house and him a little bit, and he decides to follow them. And then there's this whole legend where like there's like these wandering spirits that are in the desert, and like nomadic tribes talk about this, where it's like you got to be careful because like they're stuck in the desert but they look like normal people and blah blah blah. And that's kind of what this group is, and he's tailing them. But it's like he dies in the beginning of the movie, but he transfers his memories to the doctor, this woman.
Okay, that's kind of where I tapped out.
Yeah, like it just kind of doesn't really. It's just kind of like whatever. Like I want, like, dude, the whole movie. I'm like, okay, here we go. Okay, here we go. And it just like Mary Warrenov's in it, and like I always like when like her, and especially like her and Paul Bartel, because you were asking me about Eating Raoul, which you should check out.
Yeah.
Those two are together a good.
Who directed Eating Raoul?
I think Paul Bartel did.
That'd be why it was on my radar.
I think so.
I see. Is it British pop sensation Adam Ant?
Adam Ant. Yeah, no lines. He's like the leader of their little group.
Okay.
And like I said, there's cool. It's like this is my classic. Like I just don't give a fuck about horror.
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't do it for me. So like, there's some creepy stuff. There's some cool stuff. But like as a story wise, I'm just like I don't care.
You are right, though. I do see here Arnold Schwarzenegger hired McTiernan to direct Predator after seeing this movie.
Which is great, because how fucking awesome is
and
Predator?
It changes his career.
Yeah.
Obviously, he does way better movies than it sounds like this is following it. So.
Oh, my God, yeah. So great. I'm glad for that. And, I really got to watch Predator again, because I always forget. The first half, that was just a commando movie.
Yeah, it's like an action. It's all these guys blowing up.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Yeah. Great, the classic great crew. All the different characters represent it. Like
Shane Black is one of them to help punch up dialogue. Yeah. It's great. It's Predator's great.
But yeah, I don't know, man. I wouldn't recommend this movie unless you're like a completist, or something. I mean, I guess it's somewhat worth a watch. Like, it's got some interesting stuff. The concept's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
It just doesn't connect for whatever reason. Like, it's just kind of a dumb ending.
Yeah,
where it's like Pierce has become one of the nomad spirits, and like the doctor that gets possessed in a sense, and his wife are like fleeing LA, and like they get to the city limits, and like they look back because like a motorcycle's been following him, and it's him, and he can't leave like the city. Like, I don't know, like it's a cool concept, but it just didn't do it for me.
All right, so after that you got Taffin.
Yes,
these are interesting titled movies.
Yeah, apparently these are like a series of books.
Okay,
and Taffin, Pierce, he plays Taffin. Right. I think it's Mark Taffin. He's like a debt collector in like a small little Irish town. So he goes around, like, oh, they owe me money. And he goes in and gets it, that kind of shit. So it's a good role for him. He's good, charismatic in it. This movie's not going to change the world. I enjoyed watching it. It's the classic thing. He's doing his little thing, and then like the developers come in. And they're like, we don't want to ruin our little hamlet here. And he's like, Taffin, help us. And he's like, no, because you'll just turn on me in the end. You won't like my methods.
It sounds exactly like, what the fuck is that Clint Eastwood movie? It might be, no, it's not Pale Rider.
Is it Hang 'em High?
It's not Hang 'em High. There's a movie where like it's kind of like Shane almost.
What's
like,
the red one? What am I thinking of? I'm like, fuck.
Red? I don't know. Go ahead. Keep talking about this. I'll look up and
It's probably is, but he's just like, you're not going to like my methods.
It's 100% what that movie is.
But,
and it's like a logging camp.
God, what is that?
It is Pale Rider.
Pale Rider. Okay.
Did I say that?
Yes, you did.
Right. It's a great movie, by the way.
So of course they go, no, Taffin, no, we need your help. You can save us. Well, it's okay. We don't mind what you do. And of course, like they eventually like mind what he does, and he gets like ostracized in his own community after he saves it on something he didn't do. He gets blamed for a death.
Right.
It's good. I don't know. Like I said, it's not the greatest movie ever, but it's enjoyable. You get some nice Irish scenery. You get some good little, plot twists here and there. You get some good, like clever, like schemes from Taffin to like, undercut these people and ruin their, development.
That's always fun.
You got Alison Doody as the love interest, who's always fun to say. Yeah. Every time I see her name in credits, I can't.
She's another actress where it's like I can never not associate her first with
it's
Indiana
Last Crusade.
Jones. Yeah.
I mean,
what an interesting character in that movie.
Elsa?
Yeah. That she sleeps with father and son, but then is also like back and forth between good and bad. It's just a very great dynamic, especially following Willie Scott and.
Was she banging what's his face too?
The father, yeah.
No. The head,
I don't know if that's ever really
the head bad guy.
What's his name?
God, what is his name?
We're talking terrible. We're losing our minds.
I know. We
Too
really
much
are.
Movie shit we're talking about. Donovan? Is it Donovan?
Yes, I believe so. Dude, I watched this fucking Charlie Kaufman movies too, and I'm like really scattered.
Sir, you were a brave man because.
But we'll talk about that on Patreon. Patreon.com/almost.
But I'm not a huge Charlie Kaufman fan.
I'm not surprised by that. Somebody tells me I'm not surprised by it. So Taffin, check it out.
Walter Donovan.
Movie to pop on.
Yeah.
Like, oh, look, it's Taffin. Like I said, young Pierce. He's fun to watch. He's slick in the movie.
You know what I will be watching? I did not have time to, but it is this miniseries called Noble House that Pierce does in.
I've heard of that.
What year is it? The 80s, and it seems like it's an action drama set in China. Like, I love shit like that. Okay. So I'm really looking forward to that. And then what do you got after Taffin?
Next up is, it's so funny that this came out in 1995. I had never really watched GoldenEye.
That's surprising.
I'm not the biggest Bond fan.
Did you play the video game?
I did play the video game.
At some point, if you grew up in the 90s, you played this video game. Either it's a friend's house, a sleepover. This game was everywhere.
GoldenEye was the game.
Yeah.
I feel like it's still the game.
It's still the game. I have it on Nintendo Switch. Has like an old N64 where you can play the old games. You can play it.
It's a phenomenal game, obviously.
It redefined a lot of that stuff like that's popular today.
And it's so funny watching the movie. Since I played the game so much, there's that score with that sound in it, like that. Like I can't imitate the sound. Maybe you can drop it in. You know exactly what I'm talking about, though,
make
right?
More work for me in this fucking thing. Don't drop this in.
But you know
my
this
court jester.
You know the sound effect I'm talking
yeah.
about. Like that, it's like hitting a pipe almost. Like, but I think this is his first Bond.
His first Bond.
He's a good Bond.
His best Bond.
Probably. I mean,
Yeah, I was going to do all four, but honestly, you can't find them. Like, I'm so annoyed because doesn't Amazon own MGM? It's like, why can't you stream these Bond movies somewhere?
I have Amazon, I think, and I went to watch something. I forget what it was. So I was like, oh, cool, it's on here for free. It's like 7 fucking commercials.
Yeah.
I was like, goodbye. I'd rather pay $3. I really would. And not only that, they don't even give you the option to do that anymore. Like, take my fucking money.
Yeah, right.
I don't want to watch it, and I'm not going to pay for the extra service or whatever. I'm sure they'll put the screws to me eventually. I probably will. What do you got here? The 007 collection?
Yeah, so this was like, for a long time, this was how you would get the James Bond movies. And they would, I don't know who decided to do this, but they should be tried and sent to prison. Because they would make box sets of the DVDs and just put 4 random ones in there.
Ugh.
Not chronological order.
What?
Because they want you to get all of them.
Oh my God.
And look at this. I've obviously taken one out over the years. It was probably Live and Let Die because that was the best one. But there are these cheap, these half DVD cases.
Do you think Live and Let Die is the best one?
Out of this collection of films, I think.
Wait, that's the one where it's like almost like a blaxploitation movie,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, that's
He's
probably my favorite
That's
one.
great.
So it's really good.
It's Roger Moore's first. But in this set,
Who's this honky? And he just
Great.
waltzes
You know
into
exactly what
Harlem.
you're getting. I shouldn't say that actually because From Russia with Love and On Her Majesty's Secret Service are on. I mean, it's again for me personally, I just love the Roger Moore ones. But yeah, Pierce was a great Bond just at the wrong time.
Worst movies.
Yeah, because it came after Timothy Dalton, but before we did this like hard gritty relaunch. So, because I maybe I'll revisit it at a certain point. I have it on the DVD shelf here. Die Another Day. That was like I remember being like I think the first Bond movie I saw in theaters, and by like that is a video game movie.
Yeah.
That's just comical and ridiculous. But
Is that the one where he's like on the ice? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't see that
it's
one.
a video
I don't
game
think.
movie.
Yeah.
It really is. But GoldenEye is good.
Great. It's great.
Great cast.
I enjoy it. You got
Robbie Coltrane.
Joe Don Baker.
That's right.
As the CIA man. But yeah, Robbie Coltrane's really good as like the Russian nightclub gun runner. I like that Minnie Driver cameo. Did you notice that?
No.
She's when they're in the bar and he's talking to Robbie Coltrane, and I'm looking at him too. I'm like, is that Minnie Driver? She's in the back.
Really?
She's his girlfriend. She's singing "Stand by Your Man" really bad.
I did not rewatch this movie for this episode,
Okay.
but
It's really funny.
Yeah.
And then she's just like, he's like, shut up, and she just kind of storms off.
You know what else I love about the James Bond movies in particular is Q, played by Desmond Llewellyn, and I think it's Llewellyn. You can correct me if you think that's pronounced differently.
Well, I think it's Llewellyn, but
Desmond Llewellyn.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Llewellyn Mishke. I love that. It just so happened that in the second to last Pierce Brosnan Bond movie, John Cleese is introduced as R, who is like his assistant, and then Desmond ends up dying. I don't know if he planned to retire. He's got a really.
I don't know if he planned on dying.
Well, I think.
Go on.
I believe he probably planned to retire because he has a great send-off in that movie.
Which one's this?
This is maybe Tomorrow Never Dies.
Okay.
Whatever the one before Die Another Day. The World Is Not Enough. There's only 4 of them. He says to James Bond, he says, 007, I've always taught you 2 things. Never let them see you bleed. And James Bond says, and the second, always have an escape plan. And he just starts to lower into the floor. And that's the last. It's great. It's a perfect send-off.
That is good.
But then one of the things I really like about Die Another Day is John Cleese is then Q in that. And then, of course, we forgot about that. But I am a James Bond person. I am. Always have. I love the movies. And I don't like where they're at right now. I think there's 2 things they do to
Did you like the Craig ones?
Not particularly.
They're not great. Casino Royale's good.
Casino Royale's great. I thought Skyfall was fun enough.
Skyfall was all right.
I don't like the other ones.
He didn't die in Skyfall. He dies in the last
That's the
one.
last one.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know why I thought he died in Skyfall.
No, they kill him off. But I know, like, for a while, like, Christopher Nolan was like, he wanted to make one, but he wanted to do it as like a 60s period. Let the fucking man do it. Like,
That'd be
what?
cool.
Like, or, it'd be great in a way, like, get Pierce as like the
old Bond.
The old Bond drawing out of retirement.
Not bad.
But do it seriously. Don't tie into like the goofy Die Another Day shit, but maybe like do it where it's like we see a Bond that's like
not the worst idea,
retired and has to be called back in action. Do something new is what I'm saying.
Daniel Craig, I think, hated doing it, and I feel like it comes across.
I think they, excluding Roger Moore, who's my favorite, I think all of them had a little bit of resentment towards playing that character.
Maybe.
Except Roger Moore totally embraced the character.
Mm-hmm.
He wrote books about it. He gave interviews about it. If you would encounter him in public, there's so many stories where he would pretend to be like,
oh wow,
great guy to kids. I love Roger Moore. But anyway, Goldeneye. It's
you got Sean Bean.
Sean Bean as
fantastic.
006.
006. Yeah.
And Robbie Coltrane comes back in a couple of the Pierce movies.
Oh, does he?
He's fun.
I could see that.
Yeah.
That's the kind of guy you'd slot in as like, the middleman, crime guy that Bond has to meet up with. Playing a different, ethnicity every time or something. He's kind of perfect for that.
Well, no, he plays the same.
Oh, does he?
He plays the Russian.
Oh, that's excellent.
Yeah.
That's even better.
Yeah.
I actually like that.
It's great. And was that your last Pierce?
No, actually, after that, I watched The Tailor of Panama from 2001, directed by John Boorman.
By the way, real quick.
Yeah.
I should say we have previously covered Mars Attacks, which Pierce is in. That's on our feed. And before you get there, chronological, I watched The Thomas Crown Affair the first time.
Yeah, sure.
You said you've seen this movie?
Yeah, a while ago. I remember liking it.
I looked at for whatever reason, I looked at it, I was like, you know what? This movie is about two people. They're doing art heists together. There's going to be like the dropping from the ceiling and type shit. There's virtually very little of that. And
the
it becomes
heist is
like
good.
It's good, but it's in the first 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And then it's these two just fucking each other for the entire film.
It really is. That's kind of what I remember.
In various positions, on various surfaces, in various angles.
That really is the movie.
It's the entire film. It's the two of them just fucking. I was like, oh, I guess it's this like erotic thriller, like Body Heat. I didn't know that.
Yeah. I remember I watching it. I thought there was a bit more heist action.
And not only like you said, it's a really well shot scene.
It's a really good heist.
It's exciting.
Yeah, it's slick.
And then it's like it's out of the movie for the rest of the movie. Then the rest of the movie,
but she knows it's him.
Yeah,
and he knows she knows.
Yeah.
What was the?
It's like a lot of backup. Then there's like a female character she sees him out with. It's his daughter. It's one of those type things. It's like, but then like there's so much fake out with it where it's like she thinks like, oh, he was using me. Oh wait, he wasn't. Like there's a lot of back and forth where she thinks that he was playing her, and then at the very end, of course, she's on the airplane convinced that he fucked her over and he's behind her. So it wasn't. He actually fell in love with her. But yeah, he's an art thief. She's the insurance investigator hired to investigate, and they end up fucking a bunch. Lots of Rene Russo toplish. I was not expecting, because I was kind of thinking like, oh, this is maybe like a PG-13 heist movie. Then I'm like, nope, all right, that's like Body Heat.
I remember when it came out,
his ass is all over this movie.
Yeah, there was a lot of like, wow, there's a lot of fucking in this.
There was probably a lot of middle-aged women watching this movie late at night, clutching their chests when the kids were in bed.
Getting the vapors.
Like. Yeah. I was just shocked that that's what... I got to see the original, because I like Steve McQueen.
Yeah, I have not seen the original.
But anyway, that was my contribution to the Pierce.
I remember being, like you said,
yeah,
good enough. But yeah, I watched The Tailor of Panama, like I said, directed by John Boorman. Screenplay by Andrew Davies, but based on the book, and also a screenplay by John Le Carré. So that's why I was kind of interested in
wow,
it.
he wrote the screenplay.
Yeah. I was like, oh shit. I was like, let me check this out.
He's someone I got to read.
I know, me too. I liked it.
I think that Tinker movie, like everyone says
Taylor?
it's boring.
I don't think it's boring.
The one with
Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman.
Yeah,
I've never seen it, so maybe I've heard it's just a very slow.
Yeah, it's slow, but it's good. I like it. I got to watch the original Alec Guinness one. I've watched some of it, and
there's a ton, right?
Well, there's it's a mini series, but then there's like a sequel, Smiley's People.
Okay,
and then I think there's another like. I could be wrong. There might be like three installments in a sense. This one's good. It's interesting because. And you get this before the Matador too. I mean, he's in this one. He is really playing a piece of shit. He's like he's getting ready to be drummed out of MI6 because he like fucked some Spanish premier's mistress or something. So he's had a lot of like diplomatic Incident 6. But they basically go like, look, dude, it's your last chance. We're sending you to Panama. Go keep an eye on the canal. Like. And he's just a scumbag. He's like a real rat bastard manipulator. So that's fun to watch.
I see here in the cast list, Mr. Daniel Radcliffe.
Yeah, he plays Jeffrey Rush's son.
Little Harry Potter.
Jeffrey,
a great cast though. Brendan Gleeson, Jamie Lee Curtis, Jeffrey Rush.
Brendan Gleeson. we'll say he's very tan in this role, playing a Panamanian.
Michelangelo Mickey.
Abraxas.
Why not give that role to someone else who's in the cast? John Polito.
John Polito, also very tan.
I bet.
And
I would imagine Mr. Mark Margulies is also
there's a bunch of people
tan.
that aren't Panamanian playing Panamanian, so that's pretty funny to watch.
I know that Mark Margulies is from Philadelphia. Do you know that?
He's Raffi.
He's
yeah. Of course. Yeah,
great character actor.
Yeah. You also get Harold
Wow,
Pinter
he's
in
Jewish.
Here.
He always played. I know. He was a student at Temple.
Huh.
Wow, never knew that.
I taught him.
Why don't the city promote the fucking famous sons and daughters we've had? They don't. They're really bad at that.
It's all Bill Cosby all the time.
For decades. Let's give the man an honorary doctorate.
Yeah. It's good. Jeffrey Rush is great. I haven't seen him in so long. I know you just saw that thing with him recently.
Yeah, I don't know where the fuck that thing is at.
But he's really good. He's like this tailor who's got like, a backstory that may or may not be true, and now he's in Panama doing like the Savile Row tailor suits.
Also, Jonathan Hyde is in this. What happened to him? The hunter from Jumanji, and
what a great actor.
Yeah, what happened to him? He's still alive, but he just like there was something else he was in when we were kids. Oh, Richie Rich, he's the butler.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up watching. He's in Titanic, Anaconda. Oh, The Mummy. Remember, he's in The Mummy. Brendan Fraser. Yeah, love him.
Yeah, man. What the fuck happened?
I don't know. He kind of just, I guess maybe he's like semi-retired. It looks like he took a pretty big break from acting after 2001, and he came back in 2015, but hasn't really had like a big. Oh, he's in The Brutalist.
Oh, there you go.
There you go. Maybe he's got
any interest in that.
Maybe.
I don't have a ton.
I know it's long enough. There's an intermission, which we champion, so that's good. If you're gonna do a long movie, at least do the intermission.
I don't know. There's something about what I'm hearing about it. I'm like,
yeah.
I've said this before. It's like slavery, Holocaust, and basically World War II. I don't care.
Yeah.
Stop making movies about them. And I know this isn't about that, but like his whole thing is like, we're getting off track here.
I know, but there's certainly ways to do those subjects that are refreshing and new, different takes, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was that...
Like Django Unchained, I think, is a great...
Sure, and there was that... I didn't watch it because I found...
Inglourious Basterds. I'm not going to quote all Tarantino movies,
right.
But...
I found it gimmicky, but that one Glazer just did, Zone of Interest.
Oh, okay.
Where it's like,
I haven't seen it.
They're on the outskirts of the camp, and you never really see it. And it was funny. I was reading, Haneke. Mm-hmm. He was saying this about Schindler's List. He's like, disgusting. Because, like, really, when you think about it, and this is when it came out, he was saying this, you're filming something that happened, so it's like...
As realistic as possible,
so
pretty
it's
much.
Like, I always think about, like, filming the gas chamber scenes, Schindler's List, and it's like, all right, and cut. It's like, oh, man, like, the actors the actors bullshitting.
Back
it's
from
like,
that.
Oh, let's go have a cigarette. Let's go have craft services.
They should have had Jerry Lewis in clown makeup on set. Yeah.
Lighten the mood.
By the way,
it's got to be soon.
There was a documentary that came out on Turner Classic last month that premiered some footage from it.
Really?
Yeah.
That should be, if they do a screening anywhere, we should go.
I think I sent it to you. I thought it was like AI art. I was like, this can't be from this fucking movie. It is. It's him in the clown makeup with the fucking nose stuck on barbed wire, and he's like,
please keep your radar up, because if it's wherever it's screening, we'll go.
I don't think it exists in like a screenable fashion. I think
someone
it's
has to cut it.
I think it needs to be cut. I think they have like the, Anyway,
yeah. I mean, look, it's an interesting movie. It's almost like I know it's not meant to be that way, but it almost feels like a John Le Carré comedy at points. Because Jeffrey Rush is a little silly.
That's not a bad thing, though.
It's not a bad thing, but like the tone of this movie is kind of all over the place. It doesn't really get it nailed down. Like it wants to be this almost like odd buddy comedy, like mismatched like pair. But then it wants to get like real serious about like the crimes of Noriega and stuff. And I don't know. It was interesting in the sense because if anyone's watching the news, Panama Canal is back in the fucking news again.
Yeah.
And when this movie was made, the Americans did not, I think the movie is set in a time where America still controls it. I could be wrong. It's all right. I liked it. I thought it was fun to watch. It's those two, which we'll get into in a second. It's pairing Brosnan with someone, especially when he's playing kind of a piece of shit.
That's a good dynamic, yeah.
It's a good dynamic. So, I'd recommend it. It's not the greatest movie ever.
Yeah.
There's better Le Carrés, but, brings us to The Matador.
Now, I'm going to do a little how the sausage is made with our listeners and you. I don't even think you know this about. When I pull reviews for the show, sometimes I consolidate them or I remove certain words that I just think are fucking point. Not again, I don't paraphrase reviews. There's sometimes I'm just like, all right, this is too fucking wordy. Let me cut around and make it sound.
That's what they do.
I
People
found
do that
a
all the
review for
time.
this movie that its essence is so fucking pretentious that I just have to read the blurb as written. And,
Who is it?
Joe Layden with Variety.
Okay.
Now, there's a lot of big words in this that I'm going to attempt to pronounce.
Christ.
I cannot believe a review for a 2005 buddy comedy is like this. And it's a good review, but it's just like, dude, you can say this in a way easier way. What the fuck are you doing? All right, here we go.
Let's go.
Deftly maneuvering through audacious mood swings and tonal shifts, the Matador emerges as a quirky yet commercial commingling of black comedy, serio-comic psychodrama, heart-tugging sudzer, and buddy movie farce.
Sudzer?
What the fuck? What is sudzer?
How do you spell it?
Sudscer.
I've never heard that term.
Exactly.
I'm not saying it's not a term, but
Let's see.
it's a sudza.
It's a soap opera. It's a real sudzer.
Oh, it's a real-
some
yeah,
fucking
it's a real
1940s.
real sudzer.
Hey, you ever catch that sudzer the other day?
Yeah, that's a bit much.
I need to come back to a commercial commingling. What the fuck is
Well,
a
you have
commercial
to think-
commingling?
You have to think. Like, if you're a film critic, especially one that's writing, you probably get bored. You probably like you're a writer.
Commercial commingling?
I gotcha. I know.
How
It's
about
alliteration?
an interesting blend? Like, what do you fucking...
He's going for his Pulitzer.
An inspired melding of various genres, like a commercial commingling.
Dude,
Come on, Joe. Can you imagine if a hats off video if I'm just like, I like this movie a lot because it was a commercial commingling of various genres. Ugh.
we need that's going to be our tagline for
We're commercially commingling.
The
Yeah.
Almost Cult Classics, the podcast, is a commercial commingling.
No, we do this show. We're commingling.
I think so. It's
Okay.
pretty commercial.
Yeah, The Matador is a... You know, and I read, too, there's a ton of deleted scenes to this. I didn't want to watch any specifically. I didn't want it
It's
to...
like it cut like 45 minutes, I think
Yeah.
I read.
And I think that's a good thing. It moves very fast. Sometimes it's a little... Pacing is a little... If anything, it's too quick in some instances, but
Yeah.
it does work for what the movie is. And Greg Kinnear and Pierce are great together. And I just love the cast of this, and I love this piece of shit that he's playing.
Yeah.
I know you were a big fan of piece of shit characters, so
It's great. And essentially two kind of almost playing against that Bond type.
yeah. And I don't know how I know Die Another Day is 2002. I wonder if this was his direct follow-up after stepping down as Bond, because that would be a great. If that was the case, I applaud him for. Let's see, Die Another Day, and there was quite a few, but I mean, this is still like a departure from how we had seen Pierce up to this point in his career, and he gets a ton of
That's what I can say,
accolades
the
for
Teller
it.
of Panama, though.
Yeah.
He's a real piece of
Oh, is
garbage.
he?
Oh my God.
And that comes before Die Another Day.
Yeah.
But still, it's he gets a ton of Golden Globe, Saturn Award nominations. I mean, so it's great to see he did get some accolades for this. And I was reading a little bit about how the mustache was like the director's choice to kind of set that character, and great choice. And not only that, phenomenal choice when he shows back up in his life that Danny's grown a mustache as well.
And it's
subtle, not
super subtle. But
perfect.
yeah, I love when they cut, because they do that 6 months later thing, and they show that great montage of him all over the world.
Yes.
And that's the other thing too. The movie has this feel of like a real globe-trotting kind of adventure. And this is where I give it credit. Basically the whole fucking thing was filmed in Mexico City.
Right.
And I think
can
it's
tell.
Budapest.
Yeah,
I think it's
absolutely.
the Philippines. I think it's Vienna. Like I mean, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
To get that across.
It also taps into this need of men to be around, have other male friends.
Yes.
It's a very, again, the planes, trains, and automobiles thing of like the he won't leave them alone. You know, it ties into that, especially when you're traveling. If you've ever done, I've done a ton of solo trips. You just want to like at a certain point, after a while, and you're like, this is nice. I get to go and eat where I want. You just want to start talking to people.
Yeah.
You just want to make friends and just like and.
I've brought up that power of the male friendship.
Yeah.
I think we were talking about it last episode.
And the old the Moose Lodge.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes. I mean, if there's something important about that, it's just connecting with a guy and be like, "You dudes," like.
Well, again, and
And that's why, like, I like that scene in the bar where they kind of meet. Is that Greg Kinnear has no real reason to sit there and listen to him or entertain him, and yet he does.
Yeah.
And even that after like his pretend like he's like makes a gay pass to them. He's like, no, I'm just fucking with you, man.
There is a line there though that he crosses.
Yes.
Julian, and that just goes to show how uncomfortable he is with any sort of real emotion and that type of stuff. We'll get to that scene. But yeah, the movie begins with Greg Kinnear plays Danny Wright, who is I guess we don't really know exactly what the industry is. It's some business that he is really hard up. He and his wife have lost a child, their son, in a school bus accident. Wife is played by Hope Davis.
I always like her.
Bean
man.
is the character's name.
Yeah, she's a very underrated actress.
Great, and really, again, the choice that this movie makes to get her, have her character interested and intrigued by the hitman, because so many times you've seen these movies where it's like, he will not step foot in this house, but like she welcomes him
out of here. Get him out of here. Why
She's
is
like,
he
do you
here?
have your gun? Can I see your gun? Like it's so rewarding and refreshing to see that. So anyway, they're just financially strapped. Before he's supposed to leave on this business trip to Mexico City, a fucking tree branch crashes through their kitchen.
Odd aside, there's it's a huge storm, lightning and thunder before the tree crashes into their house. All it made me think is, man, I fucking love thunder and lightning storms.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's loud in this movie.
Do you remember?
I had headphones in, but...
We got rocked about 2011, 10.
Do you remember the tree down the street?
It was in this area, yeah. Trees were fucking...
I don't want to say a tornado came through,
it was
but...
brutal.
It seemed
the
like...
The roots were like as tall as us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a great picture of me standing next to this enormous ripped up tree.
Really?
And it ripped... Yeah, I'll try to find it for you.
That'd be great to post on Patreon or something.
Yeah, it's like from so long ago, maybe 20 years ago.
Back when you were like 300 pounds.
Yeah. But it's like it ripped up the whole sidewalk.
It did, yeah.
So there's this big crater I'm standing next to, just pointing at it. Like, and it was down the street from me. It's like, what the fuck?
It was one of those things too, where like the storm itself lasted maybe like 3 minutes, but it
was insane.
The aftermath was like, oh my god.
It's weather we're not used to in this area.
No, it was
not
hail.
Like that.
It was like, whoof. But anyway, so he and his partner, who's played by Adam Scott, which a very good use of Adam Scott. It's not over. He doesn't overstay the Adam Scott.
Watch that Severance show at all?
I watched the first couple and I was really into it, which ties into something we're going to do next time on the show, because Severance is directed by Ben Stiller.
Is it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. Something about it just, I'm like, it's one of those, it strikes me as a very like...
a very like it thinks it's smarter than it is.
That and it's going to go nowhere.
Yeah.
And did you see that fucking season premiere? I saw it making the rounds online.
I saw the
opening
shot that everyone's talking about. Yeah. Whatever.
Awful.
I just don't. Apple is one of the only streaming services I don't have. I only hop in when I get like an upgrade or something, and they give you a month for free. So
whatever.
That's the only reason I haven't seen it.
Probably won't be checking it out personally. But yeah, Adam Scott's kind of in and out of this movie. I don't mind Adam Scott.
No, it's very. And again,
do you know what he used to do on Adult Swim? He did like 3 parts of it, and it's fucking, they were really funny from what I remember. I think it was called The Greatest Event in Television History.
Oh, yeah.
And the first one was him doing a shot-for-shot remake of the opening credits to
Yes.
Bosom Buddies.
Oh, my God.
Dude.
What a great idea.
It's so funny,
I have to
man.
go back and look that up.
I don't know if Bosom Buddies was the first one, because he did Bosom Buddies. I think he did Heart to Heart.
I like Adam Scott, by the way.
I don't mind him.
I just think that...
I feel like people are starting to get annoyed with him.
Are they?
It's one of those things where it's like you see a guy too much. And anytime a guy gets popular or people start to like him, you're going to get a contingent of people that are like, you know what, actually, fuck that guy. I don't like him. But I really...
Josh Gad.
I was a big Party Down fan.
Yeah.
I thought Party Down nailed it. I was in that industry when that show came out. So I was like, holy shit.
Didn't they do like a...
They did, and it was pretty good.
Was it?
Yeah, it was pretty funny. Yeah, and it was like had COVID.
Oh, by the way, we'll talk off mic, but I started Deadwood.
Oh, good.
So we'll chat about that later.
Stick with it.
Yeah. I wasn't expecting to see Nick Offerman's dick in like episode 2.
Oh, yeah, I forgot.
His balls and dick. I was like,
is that
Nick Offerman?
Dude, when I rewatched it recently, I did the same thing. I was like, wait, that's Nick Offerman.
I was like, well, that's something that doesn't get brought up. Yeah. All right. But yeah, so he ends up in this, is it Mexico City?
Yeah, Mexico City.
And
they're there to close a deal.
And they're
of some sort.
With some, we don't know the industry, we don't know what they're doing, but also in Mexico is this assassin at the pretty much end of his rope, Julian Noble. That's Pierce's character, and just a real like degenerate drinker. And he's just like, it's
trying to
kind
pick
of
up
like,
schoolgirls.
like, is he bisexual? Is that it's kind of like hinted at. We don't like. He's painting his toenails at one point. I don't know if they're all just like character choices.
I mean, I would say he's less bisexual and more just like very, he's just a degenerate. Like he'll take what he can get.
Yeah,
because like,
he talks about in Thailand. He talks about like how
the pretty boys or whatever. So it's like he'll do whatever, but like he's definitely, because he even says it too. He's like, it's booze and women.
Yeah.
That's where his comfort zones are.
And we see there's a lot of great montage in this movie. And not only, so we're so used to seeing montage in movies now that completely just doesn't add anything to the story.
Yes.
The montages here, and it might be because they just had a lot of material to cut out and work with, they really kind of advance the story, let us get to know the characters a little bit. Really great, effective, almost like Edgar Wright type, quick, tight stuff.
Sure.
I'm a big fan of the when you jump locations and
the blocky.
It's just over the entire screen where it is.
I kind of like that.
I do like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they end up meeting at the hotel bar after he has gone through his pitch, and
I read a little bit too with the director and even the actors in the movie said, and like you said, when you're traveling and stuff, what a great place to meet people. Because one, you're never gonna fucking see them again,
right?
So you can get a little open. You're drinking, so you're probably
they're having margaritas.
There is something to be said about the hotel bar.
Of course,
it's a very interesting place where a lot of things can happen and be possible.
Absolutely. And we have both worked in bars, and you do get to see quite a bit of interesting friendships made. And anyway,
absolutely.
But we should point out that Julian's boss is Bookman, is Philip Baker Hall.
Still alive?
No. Oh, you got me. Because you're always wrong.
I know.
You're always
I
fucking
always
wrong.
want to fuck that up.
But
no, sadly, Philip Baker Hall is not. Yeah.
He plays a character named Mr. Randy.
Yeah.
They all have that typical assassin boss relationship where it's like about the file. They're not directly saying anything.
Right.
It's a great.
Does a lot with a little.
Always does a lot with a little. And even there's another, I guess, cohort they work with, played by Dylan Baker, who comes up later. Another very understated performance.
Barely in the movie. Does a lot with a little.
Him.
Yeah. He's a great actor.
Oh, yeah.
Always underused. He's actually in Taylor of Panama, too.
And in Planes, Trains, obviously, is.
Yep.
He's great in that. But yeah, quick, witty dialogue. Even there's so many great Pierce, just like sucky, like Miss Fucky, like things like that. Just like really obscene, but nursery rhyme level stuff. That's I don't know. I wasn't expecting that, but it's so. I was trying
He's
to
juvenile
write.
almost.
I was trying to write some of them down, but it's so quick. He's speaking very quick, and the great thing about Greg Kinnear's acting, I was thinking about this while watching the movie, and I don't mean no disrespect to the person I'm going to compare him to, but Greg Kinnear is like a way more talented Steve Carell. He could do everything Steve Carell has done better, but also go in other directions.
That's a really good way to put it. And you know what? I'm going to piggyback off that is you were kind of hinting at it earlier. It's like there's such an obvious way to play and write this character that they somehow avoid. Because it is there. It is, as it's written,
teetering on those moments.
We've been throwing around the cuck character a lot. Yeah. Not like a literal cuckold, but like my life, I'm spineless and and it's right there. And yet time. it never goes into that. He's just a dude. He's just a normal guy who has a little tragedy in his life, loves his wife, would like to do good at his job. And
he's just tired of being beaten down by life, but has kept the hope. And is trying and is
not like afraid of his shadow.
Right.
I think that's when I say like cuck. A lot of the times it's that afraid of your shadow character.
It's so funny you're saying this though because I'm watching this movie right and I'm like you know what their dynamic reminds me of, but it's exactly what we're talking about. It's the fucking cable guy, which we've decided we're going to do next. But I like the cable guy. I haven't seen it in a while.
It's been a long time since I've seen
I remember enjoying it. But that whole relationship between the two of them is that like Matthew Broderick's whole character is what. Like it becomes like a Don Knotts thing of like, what you want me to get cable for free? She was a prostitute. What?
You're an assassin.
Yeah, like that's where you expect it's going to go. And even when he first reveals it that he's an assassin, he kind of has that moment where they look at you and he's like,
"Oh, come on." What? You're a hitman?
Oh, please. My handler calls me a facilitator. Facilitator of fatalities.
That's insane.
Yeah. They're at the hotel bar. Yeah. Let's stay there. And they're kind of talking like Pierce keeps being weird, and he's also drunk at this point. He just came back from a whorehouse. It's like, oh, I've been fornicating for 2 hours, and I'm drunk, blah, blah, blah. So he buys him a margarita.
Margaritas always taste better in Mexico.
They certainly do.
Margaritas and cock. Gracias. One for my friend over there.
No. But that's...
Don't worry, I'm not trying to make a pass at you.
I'm not worried, but thank you.
You're that type of guy.
No. I mean, thank you. I don't mean to be rude, but...
It's all right. I'm just messing with you.
They get to talking, and like I said, it's really easy to open up after you've been drinking at a hotel bar. And, Kinnear's character lets it out that, like, his son died. And, the Julian Noble character gets obviously really uncomfortable, so he just goes into a dirty joke.
He launches immediately into...
Which I didn't see. This scene I found a little... Because he's clearly just trying to lighten the mood.
I guess,
and Kinnear gets real insulted.
Well, I think for what we don't really... I mean, what we're assuming about that character is he's not quick to let people into that facet of his life. And he even... When they sit down and have the initial conversation, Danny says to him, so what do you do? And Julian comes right back with, you got any kids? Like, so he doesn't give him any room to get to know him. He just, so I think, they're drinking. He just like, you know what, this is a guy, I think he kind of wants to talk about it.
Right,
and he does that.
Yes.
And that's where, and to see him like, it's like, that is incredibly rude. But it's still a real human moment, where there's other movies that would handle this in a way where it's like, you're scoffing at him.
Right, you're right.
It's handled very human.
That's the thing. It's like I'm like teetering the whole time in this movie, where I'm like, but you're right. It's totally justified. So he kind of he's like, oh, I'm going, goodbye.
Yeah.
Like, leaves.
Yeah. But they end up reconnecting the following morning as we see his coworker, Danny's coworker, Adam, who's played by Adam Scott. He is going back home because he has kids. And Danny is left here waiting for this Mexican company to give them an answer and to be around in case that happens. As it's happening, Julian approaches him, and they kind of reconnect and form...
Well, do you know what? I like what he did here. He apologizes, but he goes, I lost my wife.
Yeah.
Like,
in an accident.
I was drunk. I slammed into an oak tree.
Yeah.
She died. I was 25 or whatever. And then, he's like, fuck. Like, this guy's fucked up. Yeah. It's like... And then, like you said, he's like, look, I got these 2 tickets to the bullfighting thing. Come with me.
Yeah.
And then, they're at the bullfighting match.
Great. The concept of a bullfight is very unnerving. It's very horrible, but the stadiums look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, very like
cool looking
it's just the way all like the sun drenched people are just sitting around with their straw hats and like just
the picador, very cool costume.
Yeah, but
I'm not a huge fan. I don't like to see a bull get killed.
No, of course not. But Julian has a great kind of little moment here where he explains that you want a good matador because they're able to quickly kill the bull with that sword, whatever it's called. And if you have a bad one, it's like a bunch of times and no one wants to watch that.
Crowd don't like that.
Yeah, which ties into the title of that's what this movie is. And Julian's kind of at that point in his life, he's finding himself as this matador that's fucking up his kills. He's having blurry vision, so it's great in that regard.
But you're right. So here he finally decides, you know what, fuck it. He's like, I'm going to tell this Danny guy I'm an assassin. And it's played very like you said, like it's just that like, come on.
Yeah.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Like, no, you're not.
I gotta hand it to you, Julian. You're one of the best bullshit artists I've ever met, and I've met some.
You're absolutely right, Danny. My name's Earl Johnson. I sell aluminum siding in Minneapolis.
So you said you actually kill people for a living?
I do what I'm asked to do. What makes sense to me.
For like the mob?
I tend to be hired on the more kind of anonymous, high-paying jobs.
And then, like, he's like,
there's so many level where you expect that is going to be the outcome.
It's so easy for him to get this character to get flustered there.
Yeah.
Like, huh?
I don't want to be.
It really never happens.
Broderick, and I don't want to be.
Yeah, until he.
We might have shot ourselves in the foot a little bit.
Until he takes it to the nth degree in the subsequent scene where he shows him, he demonstrates what he does.
But once again, there.
Totally earned.
It's earned.
Yeah.
And they're laughing about it. So we'll get to it. So, as I think any of us would do in around an assassin, we're like, all right, you see that guy there? How would he be done? And I love that Julian is reluctant. Like, once we go here, we ain't going back. And he's like, all right, come on, follow me. And he starts taking him around the stadium, setting up all these distractions and picking locks.
How do you make your getaway? Where's security?
Covering everything.
Yeah.
And it's really fun because the whole time, like, Danny's intrigued. You know, he's just like, like, I think at that point he doesn't really quite believe him yet. He just thinks, like, maybe this guy's just humoring me, but I'll go along with it.
And it's all kind of, he's like, wow, this is actually, Priest really thought this out, maybe. Like,
and
they pick a guy in the audience.
Yeah.
Like, how would you do him?
This old man with a cane and a white fedora.
And his thing is like, what is it? The take a pee theory?
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the gotta pee theory of assassinations.
Gotta pee?
Everyone's gotta pee.
Of course, the guy gets up and goes to the bathroom after they've set all this stuff up, and Julian's like, all right, now it's go time. Like, now we're doing, and like, the whole time, like you're saying, Danny's like, come on, it's all fun and games. What are you doing now? He takes a knife out, and they get all the way into the stall. They see the guy's cane, and like Julian's about to kick it open, and Danny's horrified. He kicks the door open, knifes out, and he just goes, "Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were in here," and shuts it. And then we just get the shot of the two of them like laughing as they leave the bathroom. It's great.
It's awesome.
I was so like, oh, please don't. I don't know what you.
Yeah,
how dare you?
you?
I'm sorry. This is too much for. I like that there's a genuine friendship formed.
Yes.
A genuine connection. You see these guys become buddies in that moment. It's just, and I like too, they connect later on about this guy, Danny, doesn't think anything in his life is special. And he's going on about like work and a wife and a mortgage. And I think the line he uses is like, I wouldn't know how to get a mortgage for all the teenage twat in Thailand.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many lines like that, quick, just like really good, tight dialogue that's funny.
Yes.
That Julian uses to kind of express his crassness, but it's just handled very well in the characters. It really is. It's such a fundamental comedy dynamic. The goofy one with the more straight-laced guy, but once again, you're seeing, man, I'm you at this episode. It's so refreshing to see that there's actual love there in their friendship.
What do they do after the fake hit? They go grab a beer.
Right.
Like, they're hanging out.
Yeah.
And they're both, he's like, you're a fun guy. It's like, you are too, Daddy.
But
like,
once again, Julian crosses a line.
Oh, and that's the other thing we should mention. It was just Julian's birthday.
Oh, right.
So he realizes, he's like, I have no one.
Yeah.
And he mentions, too, he's like, I don't have a home.
It's an assassin going through like a midlife crisis.
Essentially, yeah. He even tries to call, he's going through his phone book. And he's like,
that's a great scene.
Yeah, he's like, it's
All these
Julian.
Random people he's
Like,
met over
huh?
the years. Who?
Yeah.
From where?
Hang
Yeah.
up. But so he's, obviously we've already said this, but he's starved for that friendship, which everyone wants.
That's why I started this podcast, Ryan.
Oh, thanks, pal.
But it's and Julian crosses a line though by asking Danny to become directly involved in one of the hits.
Yeah, he just wants to kind of like distract.
Just wants him to trip.
Yeah,
and that's it's almost like that. What's that philosophical problem with the train switch?
the trolley problem.
Yeah, it's like that. Of there's a line between being directly involved to someone and great scene of Danny sitting on his balcony of his hotel room and Julian trash drunk pounding on his door like, Danny, I'm so sorry, let me in. Like, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Slow fade.
Yeah, doesn't answer the door.
Doesn't answer the door. Slow fade.
Last time they see each other.
Fade in. It's title card 6 months later. Back in Denver, is it?
They're back in Denver.
Christmassy lights, snow's on the ground. Mm-hmm. Danny has grown
The
a mustache.
I love how it's just there.
And it
And they
without
real quick later, like they just kind of
comment on it. But when we as the audience see that, it's such a great little touch. Go, oh, that time did mean something to him.
Yes.
So he is doing much better. We find out that the employment situation worked out.
Yeah, the deal went through.
The deal went through. Him and his wife seem to be doing a lot better. They're about to hit I think it's the 4-year anniversary of their son's death, so it's a very emotional time for them. They're about to turn in for the night when they hear a knock at the door.
We also see that great montage of him all over the world.
Yes.
And he blows a gig in, I guess,
He's just getting really sloppy.
Yeah.
And he's just, again, it's him. Even like the thing he is legitimately seems to be good at, picking up women, he's like losing his touch there a little bit and it's not landing.
But they hint at, they're like, you really fucked up in the Philippines, in Manila. Like, you can't fuck this one up. He fucks it up. And then, whoever the top guy is.
He wakes up in a pile of donkey shit.
Yeah.
He passes out.
Well, that's in the Philippines.
Yeah.
That's before he.
Okay.
I think it's in Budapest is the one where he.
We do. It's a disjointed back and forth. We hop around,
but he screws that. Like they're giving him one last chance, and then Mr. Stick is like the big guy.
Yeah,
who you don't really see. He's like the one giving the actual orders, and like he fucks up that job in Budapest, and then it's just like he's got to flee.
Right.
He knows, like, I'm dead.
Yeah.
I'm a dead man.
Where else do you go?
Mm-hmm.
He goes off to Denver.
Yeah.
And he goes to Danny, shows up. And again, this is a moment where it's like, thank God that this is the way it goes, because he shows up late on the doorstep, lets him into the house. Like, of course, come on in. It's cold. I'm freezing out here, Danny. What does he say? Danny, Danny.
With the big white fanny.
Yeah, great. And lets him in and hugs him. And you would expect the wife would go, and how do you two know each other? But
Dude, I was so happy when
Yeah.
that didn't happen. She knew everything about him. He told her the whole story.
it really
But that's
isn't
like,
hard to
they
please
have-
us movie fans.
No, but it's not. But it's like, you've done so much exposition there. You've demonstrated how close Danny and Bean are. They talk to each other. He doesn't hide shit
As
from
most
her.
couples do.
But
This
you didn't have-
tired shit in
you didn't-
movies where they don't have that.
Right. Like, oh, the husband's hiding his. Why would he?
No.
It's like, Bean, I met this crazy guy in Mexico City. We had
Like,
a
I would go
blast.
home and be like, dude, you have to hear this. This
Yeah,
guy, I met an
would do
assassin.
the same thing. I met a fucking assassin.
Instead of this, oh, he's a friend from college and I don't know.
It's
Brilliant call.
Refreshing is the best way to. I mean, I was so nice to see that.
Do you think he's dangerous?
He's an assassin, Bean. Of course he's dangerous.
But I mean dangerous. You said he was a nice guy.
He is. For an assassin, he's very nice.
Do you think he would show me his gun?
And then, like I said, Hope Davis is such an underrated actress. She's always good.
Yeah.
But he comes in,
He's such a gentleman with her, though. Mm-hmm. And not.
How about some? But yeah.
It's just great. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wants some coffee.
How about some whiskey?
Yeah, and he's like,
I'm like, oh
yeah.
my.
She suggests it.
Yeah.
And so it's like, okay, now they're gonna just they start like hanging out, shooting the shit, having whiskey.
He shows her his gun.
He shows her the gun.
She
She wants to
eventually
see
asks,
it.
yeah.
Again, I think it's like a work night, and it's just like they end up having pie in the kitchen that you assume is for the holiday. Like, it's such a great that they all come together. And
But then there's some other good scenes here too, where, like, they're getting a little drunk now or whatever, and they're talking about something. I forget exactly what. I think maybe they bring up, like, it's the 4th year anniversary of our child dying or whatever.
Yeah.
And she says something about, like, his wife.
yeah, well, yeah, Danny's like, oh well, yeah, he lost, or yeah, she says it.
Yeah, I think she
says,
brings
yeah,
it
I
up.
know.
And there's that moment where it's like Julian likes them so much, he doesn't
Another
really say anything.
great
But you can tell
choice.
he's like, I don't want to lie anymore.
He's like, I don't want to lie to these people.
And the two of them look at each other, Bean and Danny, and they know immediately. They're like, you don't have a fucking wife. No wife died.
But any other movie, out.
Get out.
Get out. How
could
dare
you-
you? How could you insult the sanctity? How dare you, our child?
They laugh about it.
He picks up the jacket. Should I go? Like, no. Like, dude, I was so happy, man.
How great that sequence where he comes into the house and hangs out with them could have sank this fucking movie.
Yeah, multiple times it could have happened. I have to give the director credit and the writer, same guy, Richard Shepard. I mean, you can tell this guy loves movies, because that is something that we on the show all the time. It's like, I hate when you know what's going to happen. Like, do something real.
I think he said that too. He's like, I hate Hitman movies because you know what's going to happen.
All that shit.
You really do.
Yeah.
But when they laugh about that he doesn't have the wife, I was like, this fucking movie's great.
Not only that, then he puts on a record.
Yeah.
I almost get fucking choked up at this fucking scene. It's in the wee small hours of the morning of Frank Sinatra. And, Donnie, would you mind if I asked your wife for and they start dancing, and he's just sitting there smiling, watching it. It's just so like, oh my God.
It's very sweet in the best way possible.
It's a human fucking moment in this movie. And
who wouldn't you let your friend dance with your wife? Of course you fucking do. Why not?
So he ends up crashing there during the night, of course. Wakes Danny up very early in the morning. We need to go talk. Takes him out in the car, and this is where he lets him in on what's been going on. And he tells Danny that he's fucked up a couple of hits, and he's been given a chance to make it right with another hit, but he can't do it he needs Danny's help. And Danny's like, I can't, like, tomorrow's the 4th year anniversary, we go to the cemetery. He's like, well, I already booked we'll get you back by 2:30. Like, just over I think Phoenix.
Arizona
we're
there,
going.
yeah. Maybe Tucson, I can't remember.
Again, another...
Also, I like how he comes in, not to jump back a little bit, but he's got the ticket from the bullfight framed.
Right.
And Julian sees that and he's like, oh my, like, it's just little shit like that. Like, it meant a lot to him. Like, I don't know, man.
But when the two of them are alone, this is where he says to Danny, Julian, you owe me for what happened.
Yeah, and I'm wondering, I'm like, what is
It's set up so well where he's like, what did our relationship end? There's a moment where he's like, did you answer that door when I was knocking? I'm really thankful. Something like that is said where you're like, oh, wait, movies don't have to present that to you. You forget this. You don't have to.
Well, the movie tricked you too by fading to black during that scene, because it really does portray it as he never answered the door. And it's like, well, the movie didn't tell you that. You told yourself that. Great movie manipulation.
Great.
Perfect.
Love it.
Perfect.
And it turned so many layers to this wonderful fucking movie. It turns out that Danny opened the door, let him in, and in a drunken frustration asked him to kill the rival businessman that was potentially going to lose him this big deal. And you think that when he's saying, you owe me.
He did
Danny,
it. Yeah, he did it.
You think he did it. No, you owe him by him saying, I'm not going to do that. Like, you'll regret it every day for the rest of your life. Like, another.
And he just talks about how he's like, you already have all the luck in the world.
Right.
Like, and this will kill your luck. You'll never have luck again after this if I do this for you. Funny thing is, too, he could have done it for him without him. Like, we don't know if he didn't do it or not, but once again, that's great.
Yeah. You kind of, maybe he did go fuck. He got drunk and went and go kill the
like,
rival.
You know what, fuck it, I'm going to go kill him, not tell him.
It certainly wasn't his doing.
Right.
Danny's doing.
He does say, he's like, you're right. Mm-hmm. But I just love that. He's like, this will kill your luck for the rest of your life. I was like, God damn, that's good.
Yeah. So they end up, another great moment, too, where he's like, we have to go to Phoenix. He's like, go make up something to Bean. And it's just like, there's no pushback. He's just like, all right.
They don't show it.
They're on the fucking airplane.
Yeah, next thing, they're on the airplane.
It's great.
Fantastic.
Perfect. And then this is such a fun, it's a heat of the moment kicks in. And we get the same thing. Like, but at this point, to see Danny just going along with the whole ploy and being into it and not reserved, like, doing the arm stretch to knock the security door open so the alarm goes off. Like,
whoops.
Yeah. They're at a horse race, is it? And the target is some man that's being blocked by a bodyguard. So Danny has a bunch of different steps to doing this. He has to open a fire exit so it distracts the guards so Julian can snip another security thing or cameras or something.
Yeah.
And then he also has to spill drinks on the bodyguard to get him out of the way so Julian can take the shot. Once again, though, Julian's got this he keeps seeing himself as a kid when he goes to pull the trigger. And it's like,
he gets
he's
the yips.
panic attacks. And you know what it does, this movie? It's something in our last Patreon show I really fucking took issue with. It's that slow-mo, I don't know what it's called.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Where it's like the frame rate's off.
Yeah, I hate it.
But it's used here to show him, like, panicking.
It's not bad here.
It's not bad here.
It's not bad in all instances, but I generally hate it.
In that movie, 3,000 Miles to Graceland, Patreon show.
Oh, boy.
It's here. It's used very well. But, yeah, he chokes. And, Danny's like, what the fuck? Where's the shot? He finds Julian on the stairwell. I fucked up. I couldn't do it. He fucking gives him a pep talk to kill the guy. It's great.
Yeah, and he doesn't know anything about this guy's killing.
Knows nothing about it.
I also like how he does give him the pep talk, and I think it cuts to them maybe on the plane back.
They're walking up the stairs together. He's helping Julian up the steps. We don't see it happen.
I like that.
I like it too. You don't need to.
You don't need to.
It's because you know what happened. It's pulled off.
It pulled off.
And it turns out that the big target here, was not just someone. It was his boss. It was
Mr. Stick.
It was Mr. Stick.
So not only he's like I'm off the hook because that was the guy that wants to kill me.
That was the guy on the hook. Yeah.
So not only that, like, you didn't just kill some businessman from a rival. Like, you killed a crime guy.
And
he's not an innocent.
Danny, like, you son of a bitch. Like, please, like, it's like.
And like he's going to retire to Greece now. Like that was his whole thing.
He wants to retire to Greece. So, plane lands. We see Danny and Bean at the tombstone of their son, and Julian is hanging back by the car. And one of my favorite songs of all time kicks in, which is All These Things That I've Done by The Killers. I love The Killers. So that's another thing where I'm like, oh, fuck, this is just like, ugh.
Not a Killers fan, by the way. It's fine. We don't need to get into that. I'll say this. It's a catchy song.
It's a catchy song. It's used appropriately here. Julian tucks the grease ticket into their windshield wipers.
The musical.
Yeah, that's right. That's his gift to them.
The tickets to the country of Greece.
Greece. And, he starts to walk away. This movie ends on a shot that is so great. It's so simple. It's them at the tombstone. Julian walking away, looking back, but he's caught in the car's rearview mirror. And I'm not like one of these guys like, why are the curtains blue type shit, but it really is like, here's a guy in his past. It's like he's in the past moving on as they're going to get there. It's just a simple, but yet one of these things where it's like, fuck, I love movies.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
I love
It's a
movies.
movie. It's a real, yes.
Man, do I love this movie.
I agree. It's a great movie.
I fucking love this movie. I really do. And I was going on, we always ask our patrons to chime in and give some comments. And it seems like a lot of people just haven't really seen it, or like they're only familiar with it in marketing pieces. Let me go in.
And we're leaving out a lot, too, of good things.
Of course,
like
yeah.
Just
that
like
stuff
small little things, like him walking to the pool.
Chris here says, I watched it when I was quite young, but I remember liking it a lot. It really introduced me to Brosnan's range as an actor. Could it be his best performance? I mean, it's a great performance.
It's really good.
It's nice to see he did get some accolades for it. Pablo here says the trailer was better than the movie, which I could imagine the trailer was probably very quick, knowing how this editing style is and stylistic. And it is a very weirdly paced movie in the sense that it's so unexpected. It's not. It doesn't. It's got 3 acts, but it doesn't follow 3-act structure.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting in that regard. Luke says great performances and chemistry between Greg Kinnear and Pierce Brosnan will make you forget about the film's strange pacing. So it
does too. You really, I'm telling you, it's one of those movies where it's like I said, it's kind of chill. You're along for the ride, and you just want to see these two do stuff together and hang out.
We even got someone else here, Javi, who says, I remember being bored watching this, but I was 12 to 13, so it might be time for a rewatch. And yeah, that was kind of my relationship with it. Was like, I remember the opposite. I remember liking it at 12 or 13, but I'm like, is that just because I was a stupid kid that nobody liked the movies?
Right.
So to revisit it yesterday in preparation for this, I was just like, I was so anxious that it was going to be like, again, because I don't know, we have to come here and discuss it, and like it could be, man, I was like, fuck, it's great.
Great pick.
Really great movie.
Yeah, I'm glad we finally got around to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really hope more people discover this movie and check it out, because it's so unexpected and so, I know we spoiled the whole goddamn thing, but still watch it. I mean, we're leaving stuff out.
Oh, we're leaving tons of stuff. And it's like I'm saying, it's like there's a real pleasure in seeing how it unfolds. Like we're not doing it justice in a way. So it's definitely a big recommend from me.
As am I. What the fuck am I trying to say? Me as well.
There you are.
Yeah. But you also suggested in tandem with this another weird spy, goofy hitman movie, which is Confessions of a Dangerous Mind, starring Sam Rockwell, directed by George Clooney. We're going to discuss that only on Patreon at patreon.com/almostcultclassics. And then, as we teased a little bit earlier, we've been meaning to discuss The Cable Guy for a long time, and I know it's going to, a lot of the shit we expected in this movie, that movie has. I still think it'll be fun to revisit for us.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in forever. So.
And then we're going to revisit the 2 Ace Ventura movies on Patreon for that show. So, but yeah, great overall pick, and I'm glad you got to check out The Long Good Friday as well. That was I've been meaning for you to watch that.
Me as well.
Yeah, there you go. So thank you to those of you for checking out this episode. We're going to keep these mics rolling over for the Patreon show, and hopefully we'll see you over there.
Thanks for listening.